What's up, guys? Russ Anderson, AndersonSecurityConsulting.com, private investigation, security consulting, executive protection. Links for all the social media, AndersonSecurityConsulting.com on my website, contact page. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below, or you can send questions directly to AndersonSecurityConsulting at gmail.com. On Facebook, Anderson Security Consulting. Instagram, Anderson Security Consulting, and on Twitter, I'm exec_protect. Okay, so let's get into it. I've got some notes here, so I'm going to be referring to those, so if I look away, that's why. So we're going to talk about the death of Takeoff and how it could have been prevented. Okay, so we're going to go over several factors that added to that mix that contributed to the untimely demise of a transcendent artist, incredibly talented young man. My deepest and most heartfelt condolences go out to all of his family, friends, and the legion and millions of fans he had. He will be missed. His career is just getting started, and he had nothing but upside. And everything you hear everybody talk about him, everybody speaks very highly of him. Sounds like a genuinely good guy, and so that makes it even that more tragic. So Takeoff, government name, I guess, Kershnik Kari Ball, was 28 years old. On the 1st of November 2022, he was shot to death at a bowling alley. And let's see, where is it? Yeah, so the bowling alley was the 810 Billiards and Bowling in Houston, Texas. All right, so why were they there? How did they get there? What led up to them being there? Okay, so they did something called checking in. I'll make a separate video on checking in, my opinion of checking in, and whether people should or should not do it. So they checked in with, allegedly, and this is all alleged, with a very prominent individual, Jay Prince and Jay Prince Jr. They have a record label called Mob Ties. Apparently, they have a lot of connections. So the whole thing about checking in is, to ensure a safe passage, and almost like a concierge type service, I guess. So, but again, we'll discuss more of that in depth in another video. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make that video right after this one. So they get there, they get transportation, they get taken to this bowling alley. There's a high stakes dice game. The reason, for the dice game, there was a party for a local gang leader. All right, so let me pause right there. First of all, Takeoff and Quavo are both there. Offset was not there. So Takeoff and Quavo are both millionaires, and I've said this before: millionaires should not be hanging out with thousandaires. They also should not be hanging out in the hood with a bunch of gangbangers, right? So, and this is not to put down gangbangers, but, let's be honest, nothing good is going to come of that, and we see what happened, right? So they're going there. There's a dice game. Apparently, Quavo gets upset because he lost, not to him what would be a substantial amount of money. I think it was about $7,000. For him, that's nothing, but I think it was more the pride of it. And I think, from reports that I've read and heard and videos I've watched, he felt as though he had been cheated. And so, no one likes being cheated. Nobody likes being played. And so, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle or a little talking back and forth. Next thing you know, people pull out guns. There's gunfire. 2 or 3 shots are fired. Mr. Ball, Takeoff, is shot twice, and he loses his life. Extremely tragic. So, from the Jay Prince Jr. side of things, you shouldn't be taking your millionaire clients to dice games with thousandaire gangbangers. It shouldn't happen. And if you do take them to a space and you're there to ensure their safekeeping while they're in town, they're in your hands. They checked in with you, so your duty is to return them the way you got them, which is in one piece. If I'm providing protective services for a client, and my job is, hey, we're having something going on at this particular venue, guess what? I'm going to control the whole space. No one's going to be armed there except for the people that I designate are going to be armed. Everybody will be checked, and no one will be allowed in with firearms. Period. Doesn't matter if they're gangbangers or not. If they don't want to comply with those rules, they're gone. Second, if I know they're in a gang, I'm probably not going to let any of them in there. Why? You let gangbangers in numbers, nothing good tends to happen. Why? Because they're all together in that pack, and so you don't want that pack to get together. One or two of them, maybe not that big of a deal, but a whole group of them, bad. And secondly, why is he gambling with these guys? So you look at the disparity of wealth, and this is where problems come in. So you've got gangbangers. Some of those dudes might make money, but some of those dudes are probably hungry, and they look at Quavo and Takeoff, the celebrities visiting, as a way to make some quick money. Maybe they were cheated, maybe they weren't cheated. That's not part of it. But Quavo shouldn't have been gambling with them in the first place. And guess what? If you do gamble and you do lose money, even if you think you're cheated, if you can't prove it, just pay the debt. So all these things turned into a big, almost gumbo of circumstances that led to one individual pulling a gun, another individual pulling a gun, someone firing off that gun, and Mr. Takeoff losing his life. So let's back up. Number one, the people who were entrusted with their safety, you didn't control the space. You didn't control the people that were in there. Apparently, you have no control over them, which, gangbangers are not going to be controlled. By their very nature, they're not going to comply with your wishes. You have some gangbangers that don't even comply to the wishes of their own leaders and their own leadership structure. So you're not going to be able to control these guys. And so you put these guys, Takeoff and Quavo, in a bad position. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. So having said that, let's go back even further. They were transported there by some of Jay Prince Jr.'s associates. As from Quavo and Takeoff's standpoint, as soon as you find out that you're going to be transported to a dice game, first of all, why are you playing dice? Why are you in the hood? You shouldn't be in the hood. You guys are mega celebrities. You're some of the biggest entertainers on the planet. You're making a ton of money. You shouldn't be there. And we talk about lanes. This is a lane. When you're wealthy, your lane, people think your lane becomes really big. No, when you're wealthy, if you're smart, your lane becomes even more narrow than ever before. There are certain things you can't do and certain places you can't go. I've had a lot of very wealthy clients. They don't go to the grocery store. They don't go to the gas station. They have people to do that for them. They're not taking their car into service and doing things like that. They hire people to do these things for them. Why? Their time is better spent doing other things. They should have been doing something completely different. Take them to a casino if they want to gamble, a legitimate casino, the Hard Rock, whatever it might be, where they can gamble in a secure setting where they're not going to be cheated, they're not going to be murdered, right? So a bunch of different things went down that could have prevented Takeoff's death. So now let's go into the next part. A gang leader's party. Okay, I don't even have to say anything about that. That's an immediate no. Next, there was security on hand, but apparently they were on the outskirts or outside. They never saw what happened. They didn't see who did the shooting. The police were able to piece everything together from video footage. Again, we talk about doing security. There were people in the crowd that were armed. That's a big no-no. If you have competent security and you have VIPs visiting, which Quavo and Takeoff and the gentleman Offset who wasn't there, these are all VIPs. These are all wealthy, famous individuals. So they've got both of those two things, fame and wealth. And so they shouldn't have been there, right? So now let's go into the check-in side of things. This is where I have a real problem, and some people aren't going to like this, but they checked in. The job of the purpose of the check-in is to ensure safe passage in an area that's controlled by you. Clearly, they didn't control the area. Clearly, they couldn't control the people. Clearly, they lost control of the situation, and clearly it led to the untimely demise of Mr. Takeoff. These could have been prevented. And again, this is no disrespect to Jay Prince or Jay Prince Jr. I'm sure they did not intend for this to happen. I'm sure that for them, this was a tremendous nightmare. But, when you go back and turn back the clock, there was another gentleman named Duke the Jeweler who also checked in with these individuals. Went to a gambling, I think it was another dice game, and he wound up losing his life. He got robbed and murdered. So I would say, instead of checking in or with the J. Prince family, hire competent, licensed security professionals. So if people do come to you for safe passage, you can actually offer them safe passage. Anyway, next video is going to be on the check-in, the different functions of the check-in, and whether or not I agree or disagree with the check-in. It's your boy Russ, Anderson Security Consulting. Links in the description. If you got any comments, please leave them below. Please click like, subscribe to the video. For those who have subscribed, thank you very much. There will be more interesting and insightful content on the way. And, again, share the video as well, too. And so if you have any specific questions, leave them down in the comments or email them to andersonsecurityconsulting@gmail.com. Your boy Russ, I'm out.